The story begins in a terrifying world, a place so dangerous that venomous snakes lurk within the darkness. It hides in plain sight, ready to strike without warning. Here, the most terrifying monsters blend in with the innocent. This makes it hard to know who or what to trust. A toad once lured a snake, and now the snake is gone. This world is full of creatures like vampires, werewolves, ghosts, cyborgs, and puppets. They move through it like blood through veins. Our main character writes in his journal that he must always stay calm. Fear alone can draw the darkness closer. That's something he's learned over the past 2 years. During that time, he's done only one thing: survive. Suddenly, someone knocks and calls for him, Lin. It's time to hang the lamp outside and open the store. He also receives a mission from the system: hang the lamp. The reward is 1 skull coin, experience, and pure human blood. It's the first time he's seen this mysterious system. But there's no time to figure it out. He must obey his boss. As he opens the door, a massive figure appears. It looks like a Frankenstein-like creature. Lin greets the man, calling him professor, though in his mind he's already thinking he might die. That's what he thought constantly when he first came here 2 years ago. Now he's used to it. The Frankenstein drags a body behind him, gripping it tightly by the hair. Lin remembers how this professor saved him 2 years ago and taught him all his medical knowledge. Though the days are repetitive, life isn't so bad. As he opens the shop door, he feels many eyes watching from the pitch-black surroundings. But in this place, just staying alive is already a small miracle. He lights a candle and spills a drop of blood. That single action drives away nearby souls. The store's sign changes, showing that it is now open. He receives his rewards from the system and is surprised. Such a simple task gave him a good return. An old, toothless woman then appears, carrying a head in her arms. She asks if he has any junk to spare. The system gives him a new mission: hand over something useless. Lin looks back and says he does. He knows who she really is, the scavenger. He quickly gives her 2 red, twitching objects. She thanks him, and he receives more system rewards. Then she offers him a reward of her own. She gives him her own eyeballs. The system allows him to refuse, but warns he'll lose favor with her. Lin hesitates, then politely accepts. She smiles and walks away. Another mission complete. He goes back inside, thinking about the shop across the street, a tailor shop and a butcher shop. He knows exactly where those eyes came from. And there's a rule he always remembers in this place: never insult the ones who walk in the darkness. With the professor occupied, Lin checks the system again. His stats are average. The system describes him as a fragile but smart human who survived in this world for 2 years. Still, it notes he could die at any moment. Lin figures the system works like a game. Completing missions grants new skills and boosts. That might help him stay alive a bit longer. Just then, the professor, whose name is Bloodsaw, opens the door. He says he'll be gone for 2 days. He tells Lin to take care of the shop. The system says Bloodsaw is a lawful evil sewing monster, skilled in surgeries, runs a shady side business, and should never be provoked. Lin nods, asking if there's anything else he should know. Bloodsaw tells him that if customers can't pay with money, take something of equal value. If they refuse to pay, use the blade. He hands Lin a blood-covered weapon. The system notes it's very sharp and can cut both flesh and soul, but the more it's used, the more it hungers. Lin simply nods. Before leaving, Bloodsaw adds that the little baby in the back needs to be fed. He hasn't eaten in a long time. The system gives the same task: feed the baby. Bloodsaw leaves Lin with one final warning: no matter what sounds he hears at night, never leave the light's range. Ignore any cries for help. Lock the doors and windows. If anyone comes in, they must be killed. Lin realizes these 2 days will be pure hell. Later, he waits with the blade beside him. Suddenly, someone knocks at the door. A girl's voice asks if the owner is home. He checks the peephole. Outside, he sees a small girl holding a doll. The system presents a mission: help treat the injured doll. Lin also gets a warning: this is a wandering soul from the valley. She's searching for her mother, and her doll is her ally. Anyone who tries to take the doll will end up in her belly. With tears in her eyes, the girl asks if he can heal her doll. Lin looks at the soul lamp. Its glow is weak, meaning this girl isn't too dangerous. He opens the door and invites her in. Thanks to the lamp, no one can enter without permission, unless they're truly powerful. He reminds himself that souls and spirits here don't always mean harm. Most just want to live in peace. Still, it's best to never ask personal questions. The girl explains that her doll lost its arm. She looked everywhere but couldn't find it. She says the doll is her favorite. If the arm isn't fixed, the doll might die. Lin nervously agrees to help. The system warns he has lost 5 points of sanity. As he examines the doll, the system informs him that the bite marks match the girl's mouth, and the blood is the doll's. He's amazed at how accurate the system's analysis is. He gently asks the girl if she's eaten anything strange. She replies that she hasn't eaten in days. Last night she dreamed about eating delicious food, meat, hair, ears. She says it was all tasty. Her doll agrees, echoing her words. Lin's sanity drops again. He tells her that he thinks she might have eaten the doll's arm during her dream. The girl looks ashamed. The doll comforts her, saying her mother still loves her. Lin asks if she feels anything strange in her belly. She says it itches, like something wants to come out. He suggests the arm isn't fully digested and asks if she prefers surgery or something less invasive. Embarrassed, she chooses surgery. The doll also agrees. He picks up the blood-stained blade. Then he explains the procedure. Cut open the stomach, remove the arm, and sew it shut. Frightened, the girl quickly changes her mind and asks for physical therapy instead. He agrees, it's cheaper anyway. He then asks her whether she wants it done from above or below. The girl is startled. He tells her not to worry, it won't hurt. She hesitates, then nervously agrees. She sits down in the chair. He asks her to open her mouth wide. A horrible smell hits him. He uses a metal ring to hold her mouth open. Slowly, he reaches inside. The girl trembles in pain, but he keeps going. Eventually, he pulls out the doll's missing arm. He confirms his theory. She had swallowed it, probably without realizing. He advises her not to eat unknown things in the future. He then opens a drawer. He explains that reattaching the arm will cost 30 skull coins. The girl agrees, though she's in pain. The doll, however, pleads for mercy. Lin reassures the doll he'll do a good job. He successfully reattaches the arm and earns a large reward from the system. He gives the girl a special medicine for the doll. It must be used daily for 1 week. When he applies the first dose, the doll screams in agony. It clings tightly to the girl's arm. Lin calmly states the price: 10 coins for physical therapy, 30 for sewing, 70 for the medicine. That's 110 skull coins. The girl timidly pulls out some coins and throws them toward him, saying she only has 20. He pauses, then says she still owes 90. He offers to take a part of her body as collateral. He says he'll help cut it off for free. She steps back, frightened. She finds 10 more coins and hands them over. Now she only owes 80. She says he can keep the medicine and she'll buy it next time. That brings it down to 20. She asks if she can pay on credit and return later. Lin declines. This is a small shop, no credit. He suggests she leave something behind as collateral. She could keep the medicine and even receive change, 40 coins. Hiding her eyes, she nervously asks if she can pay with something else. He leans in and asks what she means. Blushing, she looks down and whispers with her body. The girl lowers her head and says something quietly. Lin is surprised and tries to understand what she means. As he gets up and looks at her, she hesitantly asks a question. But Lin stops her. He doesn't want her body. He simply asks for her right eye. He tells her she can buy it back once she has the money. Tears fall as she agrees. The doll protests, begging her not to do it. But it's too late. The eye is already removed and placed inside a glass jar. Lin receives a large amount of items and coins from the system. He turns to her and says everything is done. He invites her to return to the pharmacy anytime. She walks away crying, saying she never wants to come back and just wants her mother. Lin finds her reaction unusual. The system then issues a new mission: help the blood puppet find its mother. The reward is 200 favorability points with the girl, 100 with the doll, and a special prize. He pauses for a moment, staring at a plate filled with items like hair and ears, things he's collected from the system over time. He's certain that little girl has done far worse things than what he saw today. But it doesn't matter. He'll talk to her about it next time. He notices that he has been earning more and more skull coins, the main currency of this world. The only problem is that he hasn't left the store in over 2 years. Looking outside, he sees countless glowing eyes in the dark. Having money isn't the issue. Maybe someday he'll get the chance to use it. Just then, a one-eyed pig walks into the store. He's the owner of the butcher shop in the Valley of Wandering Souls, a so-called friendly neighbor who is always happy to either share his prey or share you with others. Lin sees the soul lamp burning red. He welcomes the pig into the pharmacy and asks if he needs anything. Thanks to the lamp's protection, most monsters won't attack him directly. If they do, he can use the soul's energy to push them back. However, this power doesn't work well against those truly evil beings. In the end, this world has no real rules. The pig walks in, complaining about an old woman who tore out one of his eyes over some junk. He curses her and then sits at the table, demanding to see Bloodsaw. He needs a new eye and is willing to pay with fresh prey. Lin calmly tells him that the professor is away for a few days. If he needs anything, he can speak with him instead. The system issues a mission: help the pig find a new eye. The pig looks Lin up and down and suddenly remembers him. The system warns that the crisis level has reached 89%. They stare at each other for a moment before the pig decides to proceed. Lin gathers several items, laying them out in front of the pig. Human eyes, pig eyes, bat specter eyes, and doll eyes. Each has its own price. He asks which one the pig wants. After considering, the pig says he wants Lin's eye. Shocked, Lin loses 10 points of sanity. The crisis level rises to 91%. He asks if the pig is serious. The pig replies, "Why not?" Feeling uneasy, Lin removes one of his own eyes. He does it without hesitation. The system warns that his life is now in danger. He has lost an organ. Holding the eye in his hand, he says it costs 200 skull coins, and there are no refunds if it fails. The pig is stunned. It seems impossible to him. When the old woman took his eye, he was overwhelmed by pain. Yet here was a human, calmly removing his own eye without flinching. Because of this, the crisis level suddenly drops to 50%. The pig stares, realizing that Lin must have been altered by one of Bloodsaw's experiments. Lin walks over to him, holding the eye, but the pig refuses. He wants his original eye, not someone else's. Lin puts his own eye back in and says he has the pig's eye. The pig is confused. Lin explains that earlier that day, a kind woman gave him a strange toy. He shows the pig the eye. The pig is shocked. It belonged to him. He asks where Lin got it. Lin explains again, saying it was a gift from a gentle lady. The pig realizes who he's talking about, the scavenger. She's capable of cutting off his head without hesitation, and yet she gave his eye to a pharmacy apprentice. Why? The pig loses 30 sanity points from the thought. While he stands there trying to process this, the crisis level drops to 20%. The pig finally asks if Lin is giving the eye back. Lin replies that he's selling it for 200 skull coins. The pig nods, understanding. He agrees to the price. The crisis level drops to 10%. Lin asks if he'd like the surgery here or on the operating table. The pig chooses to stay here. He's too scared to lie on the table. Lin tells him to lay his head down and stay still. If it hurts, he's allowed to scream. The pig makes a joke, but he's clearly nervous. Lin lights a candle. Then he begins heating the blade. The pig trembles, confused about why fire is involved, just to reattach an eyeball. Lin simply replies that there are some blood clots and pebbles in his eye socket. Lin assures him that he'll clean it up, free of charge. The pig looks unsure. The system notes a loss of 10 sanity points for him. Lin performs the cleaning, gaining experience points, but oddly, he's given blade skill rather than medical skill. No time to wonder why. Now it's time to place the eye. He warns the pig to stay perfectly still, or he might install it in the wrong direction. As he gets ready, he remembers something. Again, he forgot anesthesia, just like with the doll earlier. Oh well. The pig wakes up and sees Lin holding something strange. Lin explains it's a special glue that works with healing potions. It will hold the eye in place and ensure almost full recovery. The pig tells him to stop stalling and get on with it. Lin agrees and prepares the eye. He reminds the pig to be patient. He's a professional. With a hammer in hand, he gets to work. The pig's sanity drops by 20. When the pig sees the hammer, he panics. Lin tells him to relax. This is just the final step. If he moves, they'll have to start over and the price will go up. Lin hits the eye with the hammer once. The pig screams. Lin insists he can't stop now. He has a duty to make sure every patient leaves in perfect condition. Another hammer strike. The pig howls in pain. Then Lin suddenly stops and looks disappointed. The pig asks what's wrong. Lin says the eye is misaligned. The surgery has to be redone. Lin reassures him that the redo will be free of charge. After all, he's a kind and responsible doctor. The pig is in pain and terrified, but Lin continues. Eventually, the procedure is finished. Lin hands him a bottle of medicine, instructing him to drink it twice daily and apply another to his skin. In 2 days, he'll be fully healed. The total bill is 546 skull coins. The pig, defeated, signs the payment contract using his bloodied fingertips. He asks if he's free to go. Lin says yes. Just then, the system notifies him of a hidden mission. It's triggered by something in the pig's stomach. If completed, Lin will receive a rare ability called visual diagnosis. Lin stops him and says there's one more issue. He can't let him leave without saying something. It would go against his medical ethics. The pig, suspicious, sits back down. He says he's willing to hear him out, but if it's a scam, there will be consequences. Lin checks his pulse. The system grants him diagnostic experience. The pig grows more anxious. Then Lin looks him in the eye and calmly says that the problem might be an ectopic pregnancy. The pig grabs Lin by the collar, furious. He insists he's a man, not a woman. Lin stays calm and says that's exactly why it's a serious problem. If he had a uterus, it would require an even more complicated surgery. Frustrated, the pig throws Lin into a chair. Lin, undeterred, asks what he's thinking. The pig threatens to cut his hand off. Lin advises him to stop thinking about violence and focus on his condition. He explains that the symptoms, swelling, no loss of appetite, and bleeding in the lower area, are all signs of something more serious. Surprised, the pig asks how Lin knows all that. Lin takes notes and continues with his questions. The pig mentions stomach pains that started about a month ago. Lin doubts food poisoning would last that long. He asks if the pig has attempted reproduction recently or has any strange preferences. The pig snaps at him, yelling that he better not ask that again. Lin agrees and moves on. He asks if there was any sharp pain during reproduction. The pig gets angry, demanding to know what kind of pain he's referring to, and shakes Lin aggressively. Lin tries to calm him down, explaining he's only asking these things for his health. The pig finally sits back down and says he'll give Lin one last chance. Lin steps forward and says, based on the symptoms and what the pig has told him, this isn't a regular pregnancy. It's likely a mutation caused by consuming something unnatural, leading to an ectopic pregnancy. The pig repeats the words to himself, trying to process it. Lin adds that recently, he might have felt constantly full after eating. He may have noticed pale skin, sunken eyes, or a cold pulse. These could all point to possession by a parasitic spirit. He hands the pig a potion for detection. It's designed to reveal any hidden evil spirit. The pig sniffs it. Then he plunges his hand into it. Suddenly, dark spiritual forms start to rise. Startled, the pig yanks his hand out, feeling something stir in his belly. Lin reacts quickly. He hits the pig's stomach with a chair. The pig panics and demands to know what that was. Lin explains that the diagnosis confirms it. It's a parasitic spirit causing the ectopic pregnancy. Fortunately, it's in an early stage. He's lucky to have come in now. Desperate, the pig clings to Lin's leg, apologizing for how he acted earlier and begs to be saved. Lin knows it's much easier to fight an evil spirit face to face. Unfortunately, when it's growing inside someone's stomach, things become much more complicated. He'll have to get creative. He asks the pig if he's eaten anything contaminated recently. The pig admits that about a month ago, he fed on a man. He didn't fully eat him, just absorbed some of the body. Aside from that, he only eats pork and human meat. Lin says it's time to take a closer look and tells him to follow. The pig nervously follows Lin into the operating room. The pig hesitates as he lies down on the operating bed. He asks if a second diagnosis would be better than jumping into surgery. But Lin insists that acting fast is more important. He needs to confirm the presence of the spirit through surgery. The pig begins to panic. He's always been the butcher, but now he's the one getting cut open. While he's talking, Lin is calmly sharpening the surgical blade. The pig anxiously asks how long it'll take. Lin readies the blade and says they're about to start. But then he pauses. He forgot something. He quickly marks a cross on the pig's belly with a pen. Then he activates restraints to keep the pig from moving during the procedure. The pig screams. Lin reassures him the restraints are for his safety. The pig asks if Lin has ever done surgery before. Lin says he's watched his teacher cut meat, and this isn't much different. Now fully panicked, the pig begs to be let go. But Lin says it's too late. He can't abandon a patient now. After several cuts and a fair amount of practice, Lin completes the procedure. He congratulates the pig. It was a smooth delivery. What came out was a bloody, malformed creature. As Lin starts sewing up the wound, he tells the pig, probably not the best time, but he has to mention the bill. The cost of the surgery is 300 skull coins. Since it's his first full operation, he offers a discount. That brings the total to 240. The pig groans and tells him to just finish already. Lin agrees but adds that stitching costs extra, another 40 coins. He offers options for stitching material: wool, cotton, steel, or hemp. The pig chooses hemp thread. Lin threads the needle. Then he begins sewing. Afterward, he pours a healing potion over the stitched wound. The pig jerks from the sting. The system announces the surgery was successful. Lin receives more experience, and the pig gains another 200 fear points toward Lin. Looking at the parasite baby, Lin comments that although she was born tainted by evil, with proper care she might grow up healthy. But the pig is already running out of the room. Lin calls out, reminding him that he forgot his daughter. The pig yells back that she's part of the payment. Lin rushes after him, shouting that this is a pharmacy, not a daycare. You can't just leave a child here. Still, the pig disappears. Lin sighs and decides to look after the baby for now. Maybe when the professor returns, he'll find a use for her. A snack with a glass of wine, perhaps. The little creature is already shaking in fear. Lin pours a small healing potion on his eye and opens the system menu to check his status. He sees that his title has changed. He's now listed as Bloodsaw's apprentice. The description mentions that people can sense his growing cruelty and that he's slowly inheriting his teacher's twisted methods. Lin is shocked. He doesn't consider himself evil. He always thought of himself as kind. He notices that he has 4 upgrade points. He decides to invest all of them in Constitution. Survival is his top priority. He immediately feels stronger. Just then, the newborn monster is attacked by another creature. Lin reacts quickly and saves it, scolding himself for forgetting it was even there. He checks the system. The creature is listed as a deformed female infant spirit, level 2. A secret mission appears. The evil spirit inside her is corrupting her form. The longer he waits, the worse it will get. There are 4 options: turn her into lamp oil, feed her to the garden creatures, preserve her as a specimen, or wait for the pig to return and reclaim her. Lin thinks the first 3 are far too cruel. The reward field just says, waiting for analysis, which is vague but probably promising. He decides to wait. As he sits down, he gains 10 morality points for doing the right thing. That's when he remembers he forgot to feed the backroom creatures. He places the baby in a jar and tells her to wait. Then he rushes to the back of the store. Sweating already, he removes the lid, preparing himself. Lin pours a mysterious substance into the basement. He loses 10 affection points with whatever creature is inside, but at least it's been fed. He stares into the basement, confused. For 2 years he's worked in this shop, and not once has the professor explained what this thing is. He decides it's better not to ask questions. Curiosity here could turn someone into food. When he returns to the storefront, he finds the creature has grown enormous. Just looking at it chips away at his sanity. 30 points are gone in an instant, but what concerns him more is how horrifying it now looks. There's no way the pig will recognize this monster as his daughter. He decides to help. He ties her to the bed and thinks a little makeover will do her good. Otherwise, she'd scare everyone on the street. He grabs one of her tentacles to inspect it. It stiffens. The child becomes more frightened, gaining 10 more fear points. He tries to reassure her, it's just for appearance. But that only frightens her more. Still, he's pleased with his work so far, even if it seems a bit rough. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. He opens it and is greeted by a scorched mummy, almost completely burned, radiating intense hostility toward anything beautiful. The system identifies it as a 99% burned evil spirit. The creature speaks. Clearly it wants a new face. A quest is activated to perform facial reconstruction, with a reward of 50 skull coins. Lin tells the visitor to wait a moment. He's still finishing another plastic surgery. If the mummy wants, he can observe and admire Lin's brilliant techniques. Lin tries to calm the mummy, even though this is his first time doing plastic surgery. He tells himself it's similar to sculpting clay or kneading dough. The key is balancing elasticity and pressure. Too stiff or too soft and it won't work. He needs the right touch. The mummy gains 10 fear points just watching. Lin gets to work. He slaps the creature's skin, rolls it out, tosses it, and stretches it from side to side. The mummy stares, losing 20 sanity points. He then turns to the child's head, placing it on the table to examine it. Something feels off about this whole store. The mummy, watching in disbelief, wonders what exactly Lin is doing. Lin explains that the child is very unattractive, and as a doctor, he feels responsible for giving her a more pleasant appearance. The mummy quietly doubts the method will work, but says nothing. Lin accidentally squeezes the child's head too hard, crushing it slightly. He apologizes and notices a chilling human-like smile from the girl, which drains 20 more sanity points. The mummy now realizes something terrifying. Bloodsaw didn't leave an assistant. He left someone even more deranged. He starts to imagine himself ending up like one of the abominations in the back room. Hearing a faint noise, the mummy becomes anxious. Is Bloodsaw returning? He loses 40 more sanity points. Just then, Lin appears again, cheerfully sharpening a blade and apologizing for the delay. Lin asks what's wrong, but the terrified mummy bolts out of the store without a word. The system notifies him that the quest failed, but he earned 400 fear points from the encounter and 100 skull coins for terrifying a customer. Lin is puzzled. He had smiled and been polite the entire time. Why was the creature so afraid? Shrugging it off, he decides to finish the child's makeover. After some time, he finally completes the work and is pleased with the result. He always had decent hands, just never imagined he'd use them this way. Then he notices something strange, a third eye in the middle of her forehead. Before he can react, venom oozes from it. He warns her to keep that eye hidden. If she doesn't, he'll be forced to bring out the blade again. The child cries, but her fear begins to drop. The system shows that the crisis level has decreased by over 300 points. He also receives a strange lock of hair from the system, a defensive item that causes suffocation if placed near a neck. The girl cuddles a stuffed toy tightly, and Lin wonders if he went too far. Looking outside, he realizes it's getting late. He checks the soul lamp. The dimmer the light, the later the hour. When it fades completely, night has arrived. As he reaches to take down the lamp, a figure cloaked in shadow appears. The system warns that this is a demon hunter, an extremely dangerous one. Engaging with him carelessly will lead to death. Lin studies the stranger. It's the first time he's seen another human in 2 years. Judging by the lamp's intense reaction, this person is absurdly powerful. The cloaked man speaks. He needs treatment, specifically combat and recovery potions. The system activates a mission worth 500 skull coins. The drawback is that if Lin dies during the treatment, the mission will fail. He invites the man in, cursing his timing. As the hunter sits, he expresses surprise at finding another human in this world. The system activates a shared race link. If Lin loses the bond, he will also lose his life. Trying to remain composed, Lin asks what's wrong. The hunter shows his arm. Something dark and purple pulses beneath the skin. It's alive. The system finishes a preliminary diagnosis. He's been infected by black butterfly venom. Lin calmly tells the man, who seems surprised that he recognized it. The hunter explains that a ghost in a red dress ambushed him and used this venom. He was already in bad shape, which made him vulnerable. Once he recovers, he plans to hunt her down. Lin offers help, although in his mind he's panicking. If this guy refuses to leave, he has no choice but to treat him. He asks the system how to deal with the venom. The answer, a dangerous substance made from all the resentment in the dark world. The only way to remove it is through surgery, using a rare material called ostine. Lin tells the hunter they'll need to operate. The hunter, sweating, asks about Lin's qualifications. Trying to sound confident, Lin replies that this will be his second surgery. The hunter grumbles about whether there's another clinic nearby. Lin says no, any other would have been destroyed by Bloodsaw long ago. Eventually, the hunter realizes he has no choice. The venom is getting worse. He agrees. Lin prepares his tools. It's time to begin. The hunter surveys the room. It feels less like a clinic and more like a slaughterhouse. He eyes the skinny apprentice suspiciously. Lin asks if he wants anesthesia. The hunter declines, saying real warriors don't need it. Lin agrees. He's never used it either. He begins the procedure by driving the blade into the hunter's arm. The hunter flinches and tells him to calm down. Lin reassures him it was just a test. The hunter is annoyed but lets him continue. Lin picks up more tools, searching for the right one. The hunter asks why he's placing everything on his shoulder. Lin explains he's just testing for sharpness. If they're not sharp enough, it'll hurt more. He continues, saying the real pain happens when the knife goes in, not when it's pulled out. He's just making sure everything's ready. The hunter watches him suspiciously. Lin tries to sound professional, but it feels more like a threat. Growing impatient, the hunter warns him. If he stalls any longer, he'll be killed. Lin nods and brings over a small furnace. He starts heating all the tools. The hunter panics. He wants to know what's going on. Lin explains that black butterfly venom is too dangerous. If it spreads, it could kill him. The blades must be sterilized and melted beforehand. The hunter asks if Lin has ever done this before. Lin admits he's only done it while removing pig hair. Horrified, the hunter says never mind, but it's too late. Lin pulls out a wooden board. The hunter becomes nervous. Lin says it's just to catch blood and loose parts during surgery. Terrified but with no other option, the hunter sits still. He mutters that if there were any other clinic within 100 meters, he would have left already. With a manic grin, Lin approaches with his blade, ready to begin. Lin gets to work, starting the operation. He gains more blade experience. The demon hunter cries out. He feels as if his body is being shredded and his heart set on fire. Meanwhile, Lin calmly uses his flaming tools, casually suggesting that if the pain becomes too much, anesthesia is always an option. The hunter is in shock. He didn't even realize the operation had already begun and admits he can't feel anything. Lin replies, a bit annoyed, that in that case, the hunter should stop crushing his operating table. It's nearly broken from the pressure of his grip. The demon hunter apologizes, saying he's just too strong. He promises to compensate for the damage later and urges Lin to hurry up. Lin begins slicing deeper. Suddenly, the hunter begs him to stop, complaining that he thought the pain would end, not worsen. Lin sighs. If he works slowly, the patient complains. If he works quickly, it's still not good enough. Now that he's halfway through, the guy wants him to quit. He explains that this isn't just a normal surgery, it's an advanced extraction. The cutting is fine to avoid damaging internal tissue, not for decoration. The hunter snaps and demands that Lin finish it with a single, clean cut. Lin, taken aback, asks if he really means that, because a single misstep could slice an artery and kill him. He reminds him that doctors treat patients like their own children. They don't want them dying from a basic procedure. He again offers anesthesia, but the hunter just shouts for him to get it over with. Lin smirks and says not to worry. Once this is over, he's sure the guy will return. The demon hunter lies motionless, drooling, while Lin piles up various disturbing objects removed from the man's arm. Looking at the pile, the hunter speaks aloud. He thinks a devil must have done this to him. Lin disinfects the wound with high-grade alcohol, burning the area clean. The hunter begs to be released. Lin calmly says that there's still one more step to go. He holds up a bone with a small heart carved into it. He explains that it's part of the finishing touches. The hunter stares in horror. Lin innocently asks if the hunter liked the detail. The man, furious, begins to curse, but Lin effortlessly dodges. He says he's still trying to help. He insists the patient cannot leave before the treatment is complete. The demon hunter doesn't care. He pulls out his weapon, telling Lin to stop toying with him. A gunshot echoes through the air, and the next scene shows the hunter already tied up against the wall. Confused and angry, the hunter demands to know why he's been restrained. Lin explains it's for safety. He doesn't mind dying, but if he's attacked mid-surgery, he can't finish his work. That wouldn't be fair to a patient. The demon hunter scoffs at the metal restraints. He insists that if he were truly afraid of pain, he'd already be dead. Metal won't hold him. Lin ignores this and begins sanding the exposed bone. Horrified, the hunter begs for help. Lin calmly says he's just scraping the bones. He warned him earlier it would be painful. The hunter demands to know why bone scraping is necessary. Lin replies that enduring pain is part of being strong, and a true warrior shouldn't be afraid of it. Finally, the demon hunter cracks. He pleads for anesthesia. Lin shakes his head. At this point, anesthesia wouldn't work on exposed bone. He tells the hunter to just endure it for a little longer. Blade's skill increases again. Suddenly, the hunter breaks free. Furious, he says he'll never trust Lin again. Lin grabs his arm. He knocks the gun out of his hand. Then he shoves it into the hunter's mouth. Lin warns the hunter not to resist again. Otherwise, trouble awaits him. The hunter quickly apologizes and promises not to move. Lin tells him that's good. If he tries anything again, the surgery will become personal. He reminds him he has a reputation to maintain and pulls out a saw, preparing for the final step. The hunter, terrified, asks what Lin has against him. The system registers a sanity loss of 20. Lin says it's time to use the big tool. The saw should take care of everything. As the saw draws closer, the hunter panics. He begins to beg for mercy. Screams echo from the house. The system registers a sanity loss of 60. Suddenly, a little girl walks into the shop asking if it's the right place to buy potions. She's confused and nervous. Before she can say more, something grabs her by the leg. She hears the hunter screaming for help, then sees Lin, completely covered in blood, standing behind him with a saw as he's strapped down. Lin asks her to wait a moment while he finishes with the previous patient. The girl panics, her fear skyrockets. The girl runs away. The system registers 70 fear points and notes that she has developed a psychological disorder due to the trauma. Lin casually turns to her and says he'll get her potions as soon as he finishes with his patient. The system awards Lin a new title, Terror of Patients. Lin is confused. He smiled and offered help, yet everyone still reacts with fear. He then notices the demon hunter trying to crawl away. Lin frowns and reminds him the operation isn't finished. They return to the table, the patient groaning in pain while Lin pats his shoulder gently. Lin finally announces the procedure is complete. The venom has been cleansed from the hunter's bones. All that remains is for his muscles and tissues to regenerate naturally, and his arm will be good as new. But the hunter isn't moving. Lin tries to wake him up. The system informs him that by incapacitating a legendary demon hunter, he has unlocked a new trait, increased pain-inflicting ability using tools. Sometime later, the hunter stirs awake, dazed. He tries to shoot twice, but quickly realizes the threat is gone. Lin tells him to relax, everything is fine. The hunter, still wary, confirms that the venomous presence is gone. It feels unreal, Lin nods. The muscle toxins have been removed. The regeneration process began with the help of the pharmacy's best potion. The only hiccup was a missing patch of tissue, so Lin added a bit of pig to fill the gap. The demon hunter stares in disbelief. The demon hunter demands clarification, shocked to hear that Lin used pig skin. Lin simply says it's unconventional, but effective. If there's any problem later, he can return. The hunter is horrified by the idea of ever coming back. Lin reminds him that death by venom would have been far worse. In this world, surviving matters more than anything. The system shows that the hunter's crisis level has reached 99%. Despite everything, Lin's sincere words calm the man down. The danger level drops. He takes a deep breath and admits Lin is right. In this dark world, survival is all that matters. He then tells Lin that just making it this far is impressive. His brutal methods might be disturbing, but they get the job done. He grabs Lin by the collar and asks whether he has any real medical experience. Lin proudly holds up 3 fingers and claims he once performed a successful cesarean. Both the father and daughter were happy and even praised his work. The hunter, thinking back to how his bones were scraped, admits that he does feel healed. But he warns Lin, no one can know he fainted during surgery. Lin promises to keep it a secret. When asked how much the operation costs, Lin tells him not to worry about it. It's a gesture of goodwill from one human to another. He simply hopes the hunter will stop by the pharmacy again. The system rewards Lin with 500 skull coins. The hunter doesn't seem convinced. He grumbles that compliments won't help and demands that Lin forget everything that happened. Even if they're both human, it doesn't change anything. He walks alone and won't let someone like Lin tag along. Before leaving, he offers Lin one final gesture. Opening his coat, he tells him to pick something valuable from his belongings, a fair trade for the treatment. Lin inspects the items laid out before him. One particular object catches his eye. It's a cursed revolver that once belonged to a legendary demon hunter. It's enchanted with 6 bullets that reload themselves. Excited, he grabs it immediately. But the hunter stops his hand. The hunter notices and compliments Lin on his sharp instincts, saying he picked the most tempting weapon from the collection. Lin, impressed by the weapon, asks how many monsters it has slain. To his surprise, the hunter admits that it has never killed a single one. He demonstrates by firing at the wall. It leaves only a circle-shaped burn. He explains that the guns never hit their intended target, no matter the angle. They look impressive but are essentially useless, good only for decoration. Lin tries to back out of the choice, saying he no longer wants them. But the hunter reminds him that, as a man of principle, once a selection has been made, it can't be refused. If Lin doesn't take them, the hunter warns that something unpleasant might happen. Reluctantly, Lin accepts them, planning to get rid of them later. But the hunter tells him that won't work. Because of the curse, the guns cannot be disposed of willingly. They can only be transferred through a fair trade. And since Lin desired them so much, the curse latched on to him immediately. Lin realizes this wasn't a fair deal and accuses the hunter of tricking him. But the man simply reminds him of the favor he owes for the surgery. As a parting gift, the hunter gives a warning. No matter what happens tonight, no matter the sounds or fear, Lin must not open the door. Something unusual is going to happen. Lin asks what kind of threat it is, but the hunter vanishes into the darkness, saying it's best if he doesn't know. Lin reflects on how his teacher once said something similar before leaving. Clearly, tonight will be dangerous. There's still about 30 minutes before full nightfall, and no more visitors should be arriving. He glances at the child creature on the ground. It has already reached level 7. At this rate, it's going to become difficult to manage. He tries using the cursed revolver. As expected, it misses entirely. Still, the fear it causes is effective. He continues shooting to scare the creature into submission. Just then, the soul lamp begins to flicker. Lin quickly shuts the door and exhales in relief. With the lamp now off, a dangerous phase begins. Now anyone, even without his invitation, can enter the house. The system activates a new quest, Sleepless Night. The goal is to survive until morning. The reward is 500 coins and a mysterious prize. Inside his room, Lin hides under the covers, weapons close at hand. He's ready for anything. It's now midnight, and someone is already knocking on the door. A familiar voice calls out, claiming to be Bloodsaw. It says a malevolent spirit is chasing him and begs for help. Lin is caught off guard. Could the professor really be back? He cautiously approaches the door. Then he suddenly attacks it with his weapon, just in case. The voice behind the door shouts in protest. But Lin stays firm. His teacher would never return at this hour. While they argue, a sound comes from outside. Lin lines in to listen. Suddenly, hands burst through the door, grabbing him and draining his sanity. He fights back, struggling to free himself. In desperation, he uses the cursed hair from the malevolent spirit, which finally forces the hands to retreat. As the hands pull back, Lin wonders if they were even alive, but doesn't take any chances. He deals the final blow, defeating what the system calls the Deceiver of Flesh. He earns 100 experience points. He breathes deeply. He survived this encounter. But he notices something disturbing. The attack occurred exactly at midnight. The system issues 2 urgent warnings. A root-level monster is now approaching, and the crisis level has reached 100%. Lin hurries back to the door. He suspects this is the creature the warnings were referring to. Suddenly, a massive hand appears and reaches out for him. Lin strikes at it with his knife. Then he catches a foul smell in the air. He turns. 2 huge, glowing eyes stare at him from the darkness. He retreats, but the eyes follow, pressing right up against the door. The heartbeat of the monster is deafening. Lin hears a soft licking sound. It's oddly cute at first. Then the monster's tongue slides across his face. That's definitely not cute. He loses 40 more sanity points, but forces himself not to panic. If he does, he knows he'll be devoured. The creature then softly speaks, saying it has found the doctor and complains of a toothache. Lin is stunned. It came here not to eat him, but to ask for dental treatment. Trying to stay calm, he informs the creature that the clinic doesn't accept patients at night. That's the rule. But the creature becomes aggressive, threatening to devour him if the door isn't opened. With no choice, Lin opens it. He greets the monster politely, hiding his fear. The system analyzes the creature. Its race and abilities are unknown, but it confirms a dental issue. The monster groans in pain, saying it hasn't been able to eat. Lin offers to help. After all, a toothache isn't hard to treat. He reassures himself that this is just another patient. As he nears the creature's massive jaw, the system activates a new quest, Treat the Toothache. The reward is 1,000 coins, 50 favor points with the unknown being, and no penalties. But Lin isn't comforted. He knows the only reason there are no penalties is that if he fails, there won't be anything left of him. He readies himself. He'll have to rely on his medical skills once again. It's dark inside the monster's mouth. The creature suddenly pulls out its own eye to use as a light source for Lin. Thanking him, the beast helps Lin see clearly. Inside the mouth is a horrifying sight. Rotting remains of countless creatures are decomposing between the massive teeth. Inside the monster's mouth, Lin finds something unexpected. Hidden among the decayed remains is a legendary lance, damaged but still intact. It radiates sacred energy and clearly doesn't belong to this world. A weapon from another realm, blessed with divine power and particularly effective against demonic or corrupted beings. Lin notices it resembles the demon hunter's weapons. The creature urges him to remove the lance. As Lin looks deeper into the grotesque interior, he sees remnants of previous healers, demon eyes, cursed healer limbs, pieces of doctors. Some even include organs like a cursed eyeball, labeled as once belonging to a doctor. It becomes clear, others had tried to heal this creature in the past, but being cursed entities themselves, they couldn't handle the sacred energy of the lance. Lin, being human, believes he might be immune to its effects. That hope disappears when he touches it. His finger turns purple instantly. The giant creature turns and stares. It's too late to retreat. Lin seizes the opportunity and begins pulling the lance out. Tentacles emerge to assist him, and together they manage to remove the lance. He gains 20 favorability points. But the pain from the cursed contact remains. Lin realizes if he panics now, he's finished. Pushing through the fear, Lin reassures the monster that he'll take care of everything. He ignores its terrifying appearance. He rushes back to the shop. There he gathers several tubes of medicine. Then he returns to apply them. He diagnoses that the pain isn't from an ordinary dental issue, but from lingering sacred energy embedded in the root of the tooth. The amount of blood makes the task difficult. He pauses, wondering how he's supposed to get deeper inside the creature's mouth. At that moment, he notices a tentacle. Calmly, he says that the tentacle is needed for pain relief. Then he slices it off without waiting for approval. The monster yells in confusion, demanding to know what he's doing. But Lin has already loaded the syringe. He taps on the floating eyeball to get more light. He starts picking at the tooth, trying to squeeze deeper into the tooth. Realizing he needs better tools, he grabs a skull and uses it to drive the stake deeper into the root. The creature flinches in pain, but Lin tells it to hold on a little longer. Eventually, the pain subsides. The monster admits that just moments ago it was considering eating Lin, but now it feels much better. Lin advises not to think about that. The medicine is working, but the job isn't done yet. He now needs to clean the teeth and complete the restoration. He asks for a bucket, which the creature obediently fetches. Lin rinses out the infected area and requests some steel to patch up the tooth. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough. To solve the problem, the monster swallows Lin and sprints off. In the next moment, they arrive at a massive metal door. Lin immediately realizes the issue. The door is made of iron, not steel. Undeterred, the creature opens its mouth and fires a laser blast, melting the door completely. Inside, they discover a steel marionette, a powerful and heavily armed automaton with high combat capabilities. Lin exits the creature's mouth and watches the scene unfold. He recalls that a marionette like this once caused chaos in his shop. It took his teacher 10 hours of fighting to drive it away. This time, the creature sticks out its tongue and crushes the steel puppet with ease. Then it leaps and finishes it off with a devastating blow. Lin is stunned. He can't even gauge the power levels of either of these beings. The gap between them is massive. The creature asks if that was enough. Lin nods quickly and requests assistance, repairing the tooth. Back in the shop, Lin activates his tools. The teeth are sharpened to perfection. The creature lifts Lin gently, smiling with satisfaction. He's drenched in sweat but relieved. It earned him 11 skull coins and another 50 favorability points. Now fully treated, the creature is in a good mood. Lin offers a long-term oral care service, a type of dental maintenance. The creature doesn't understand what that is, so Lin explains that it's a regular treatment plan to keep teeth healthy. Curious, the creature agrees to a free trial. Lin climbs into her mouth once again, starting a new cleaning mission. Inside, he scrapes away old corpse remains, rotting flesh, and everything else that doesn't belong. He manages to gather quite a collection of human debris. On the floor nearby, he sets down a black bucket. The creature asks about it. Lin explains it's a special black slime that will sterilize her entire mouth and leave her with a fresh, pleasant scent. The creature is amazed and opens her mouth even wider. This earns Lin another 20 favorability points. He jumps right in, scrubbing everything thoroughly while the monster holds the bucket, assisting as instructed. Another 20 favorability points follow. Lin checks in, asking how she feels. She beams, flashing her polished, gleaming teeth. Another 50 points are added. She's clearly pleased. Lin then suggests becoming a lifetime member of his clinic. She happily agrees. He asks for her name so he can set up a membership record and offer special gifts on her next visit. The creature doesn't know what a name is, so Lin explains. It's what others use to refer to you. She says she has none. He offers to name her Yahello. She accepts. In gratitude, she gives him a few gentle licks. The system rewards Lin with a new title, Root Namer. He is now the first human in this world to ever give a root creature a name. Along with that, he gains new affinities and the ability to remove curses. Yahello carries him back to the shop, full of joy, and leaves him at the door. As soon as he steps inside, Lin collapses to the ground, shaking. He whispers to himself that if not for his strong mindset, he wouldn't have made it through the night. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more awesome stories.